Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. It's my honor and pleasure to be here to present the last session of today. By the way, our session is something echoing the morning session and also the Ambassador Kia's presentation and so on. So maybe we'll repeat the social issues and others and so on. So I would like to get the opinions from you as well. So let's be prepared. Okay. So let me introduce the presenter today. The first one is the Tsutsumi-san, who is the Senior Executive Vice President, Corporate Executive Officer, Fujitsu Limited. And the next to Tsutsumi-san is Jiraphant-san, the Vice Chairman, the Thai Chamber of Commerce. And next person is the Perry-san, who is the Chairman and CEO, EMS Group, Co-Chairman, the Philippine-Japan Economic Cooperation Committee, Inc. And the fourth presenter is Abi-san, who is a partner of Bain & Company, Inc. And the fifth is the Hamakawa-san, who is the CEO of Earth Company and Mama Earthly Paradise. So let me start the presentation, the short presentation first. And it seems like it's echoing what Kia-san said. So the last session in the 48th AJBM, we see the new challenges that we have seen, and we see the human resource is a kind of the biggest challenge we need to tackle amongst ourselves to resolve the social issues or social challenges we are facing. And based on those kind of changes, we are going to change the AJBM as well. So we try to promote a new scheme of AJBM as a kind of new attempt going forward and so on. That's a kind of discussion we did have last time. And today, we are going to present, let me see, this is too small, sorry. So we'll discuss the three themes today. And first one is what are the emerging social challenges in your country? And what kind of talents should be nurtured and circulated to address these issues? The second question, all of us, how should business leaders work together to support the talent development and its circulation in the region? To make the regional talent pool and circulation, what changes will be required on us, means the Japan and ASEAN countries or business leaders going forward? The last one is a proposal. So we bring the hypothetical proposal and propose a mutual multinational and multi-sectional platform to enhance the development, utilization, and circulation of talents in the region. And we'd like to get your feedbacks on your expectation, opinion, suggestions to make this idea more relevant, feasible, and impactful. Oh, slide has been ahead. Sorry. And this time, the ASEAN-Japan partnership, as the Ambassador Kia has mentioned several times, the next 50 years, we'd like to continue having some talent in trusted relationship with ASEAN and Japan beyond the 50th AJBM. So we see a world-class size both in terms of economy and population, and diversity leading to complementary. So we are very diversified countries and talent matches the needs. And social and economical challenges are also diversified. But so we are going to showcase our ASEAN-Japan way to the world is a kind of the next attempt we are going to do. So next few slides are showing some data that shows our diversity and so on. ASEAN has the biggest population amongst the Japan, EU, NAFTA, and so on. And with the younger generation, more than 25% included. And it's growing. So ASEAN is growing. And put together with Japan, it become a largest population group of people. Move on to the diversity within ASEAN. The industry structure is differed by country, so that social issues is also different in the region. So we can work together to solve those things with the diversity. Next is the population dynamics. As you may know, that Japan is seeing the decrease of the population in 2008. But if you see the Thailand around 2034, and for Singapore around 2040, the population started to decline, while the Philippines or other regions start growing within the region. If you see the aging, Japan has becoming the super aged community society at this moment, but the Singapore, Thailand is also start becoming the aging society, and the speed of becoming aging is much faster than what Japan has experienced. While Philippines or other regions are different in aging as an issue. So other regions, we may be working together to solve those kind of issues. The next one is urbanization. Each of the ASEAN countries are becoming urbanized every year, but in the urbanization, there are many social issues associated from those kind of rapid change of the circumstances and so on. Japan has faced the similar type of issues like traffic accident, air pollution, waste management, ground subsidence, or others. So not just high tech or digital. Maybe these kind of fundamental, infrastructure issues Japan has faced can help the development of smooth, ASEAN countries, urbanization, and so on. So today we'd like to have some. We see several times trusted relationship and the unique Japan and ASEAN partnership can be formed based on the social challenges and solutions work together amongst the ASEAN and Japan, moving the people or technologies and so on. That is a kind of idea we'd like to share. And based on those kinds of thought, last few months, we have the sessions amongst the Japanese youth and ASEAN youth and Japanese business leaders to get some input. So today, we'd like to get the ASEAN business leaders' input to the ideas and so on. And our idea or our proposal is to have some new platform for talent development and circulation. It's a talent hub focused on nurturing youth to address social challenges. So it's a kind of the started core as a hackathon training amongst the ASEAN, Japan, younger generation, and us, like a large corporation or international organization, SME, startups, and academia, NPO, NGO, government will support those kind of hackathon discussions. And it's not just one-time event, but next year we'd like to try to, sponsor this as a first event and make that happen. And going forward, we'd like to have some funding from the adults and mentorship, tech know-how, or business matching, or follow-up support, or some kind of alumni organization of those kind of hackathon, the participants, and make this as a kind of more diverse and also the issue-oriented discussion point for ASEAN Japan work together as a kind of the next 50 years HJBM type of activities to remodeling our efforts and so on. That's our hypothesis at this moment. And the similar attempt has been done in the Unleash, which is the Denmark-oriented organization. They have several hackathon events, and like a well-being, they try to find some kind of the solution in Uganda for fulfill the black hole of the healthcare support by the digital technologies or environment. In some cases, to get the water from fog or cloud. to supply the water to desert areas and so on. For digital, we had discussion about the digital tourism this morning, but in this case, the digital to reduce the fashion, to buy less and use better for fashion and so on. So digital technologies can be utilized in many ways. So today, going forward, we'd like to get some input from the panelists to have the theme one, what are the emerging social challenges in your country, and what kind of talent should be nurtured and circulated to address these issues? What's a sort of a cross-border sectoral support and cooperation your country will need? So this is the first theme, and I'd like to start asking the Tsumi-san to answer those questions. He is also part of the discussion within Japan, so that he has a legit idea about what's going on and so on.
Okay, thank you, Watanabe-san. Actually, he already explained some of our unique situation. So that's meaning we should create some unique answer, from everybody to the world. That's probably our mission. So from my viewpoint, that's meaning Japan's viewpoint, maybe some challenges I can explain it at this time. As you may know, Japan is facing a bunch of challenges. Some part of some maybe challenge, Watanabe-san already explained based upon chart. So such as population decline, that's, birth rate that comes very much low, and also aging population, that's based upon chart, everybody knows about that. And the population centralization in cities such as Tokyo or Osaka. That's the other hand, decline of rural areas in Japan. Aging social infrastructure, that's the other challenge. Long-term economic stagnation and low labor productivity. That's the other challenge that's coming out. And also, there is also a need to respond to issues that need to addressed on a global scale, such as climate change and environmental issues. This morning, we discussed carbon neutrality or something else. As you may know, Japan is ahead in some areas. Some area, probably we got some a little bit answer from our experience. But a bunch of areas still challenging a lot. So we really need some creative people to mitigate these kinds of issues as much as possible in a timely manner or a very near future. And also we should find out how we can settle down this kind of matter as a team, as a country, as a society, as ASEAN and Japan, or even some world. So I think a people deployment, such as capability, that's in the education, or even some companies, OJT or something else, that comes to so important to do that. Maybe first phase, we should focus on common challenges area, like environment, SDG related ones. I think that's a common challenge for everybody, and the critical ones, serious ones. So that's why I think even some probably university or high school, even some company or society or countryside, we should provide such kinds of education program. And then we need to discuss why this kind of is coming out, or how we can settle down, what we should do at this time, or even some very near future. I think not only for short-term discussion, that's including a mid and long-term discussion, of course, we really need at this time. That's my answer.
Thank you very much. Then next is Jiraphant-san, who is coming from Thailand.
Hello. Yeah. Okay. Actually, it's quite difficult question because actually for Thailand, I think probably from the graph Watanabe have presented, probably you can see that we are quite similar and following Japan, especially on the aging society. And this is one of the problems that we are facing. But understanding that actually now the Thai government is trying to transform our economies to a value-based economy. Since we are used to a labor-intensive economies, but presently we have to change ourselves because, as you can see, that we are in the aging society. So this is the cultures or mindset that probably the Thai citizen have to change and understand. So how are we going to do that? Actually, presently, I understand that the government is trying to transform education, at least to change the mindset of the Thai citizen, starting from the younger generation. And at the same time, we need, since we have the aging already, so what next that we have to do is that we try to reskill our staff, our citizen, and then try to improve the willingness for them to come in and to be the workforce. Because as you may know that on the economy wise, because if we have less saving, that is not enough to support the health of all the Thai citizens. This is what thing probably we need to know. And then what sorts of cross border we need probably especially from Japan, because probably you have been in that situation for some time already. So probably we have to learn from Japan. But at the same time, for our neighboring countries, which have been very different from what the graph that Watanabe have presented. This is something that is we need to solve this problem. And presently, there's a lot of migrate laborers into the Thai workforce because we still need some workforce on a lot of industry that have been changed. So all this, I think, is quite complicated, and then it's quite interesting that we tried how to solve this problem. But at the same time, the most important for our society is that we still have to keep the cultures and the respective cultures of the Thai. That is the winning of how we can attract investor into our country. That is something that probably we are facing now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's very interesting to hear that the people transfer at the same time the culture to be kept. So that's very interesting angle to see. So the next is Perry-san, who is coming from Philippines. He has a lot of ideas that transfer the people from Philippines to outside.
Thank you, Watanabe-san. I'm here in behalf of representing PHILJEC. Our chairman's here, Mr. Ricky Osman, and our Secretary General, Mr. Philip San Vitores, and the team is in here. Anyway, thank you. I will limit my comments and discussion on human resources. Philippines has a lot of problems, but I will limit it at human resources. Now, the pandemic really magnified a lot of the issues in relation to human resources. What happened during the pandemic is individuals or businesses that were connected to the internet survived. Those who were not connected to the internet, which is 52 to 56%, barely survived, or some did not survive. So when it comes to human resources, the connectivity in the Philippines, the digitalization connectivity was highlighted. It became a major issue and a major platform for our new president, which is now a priority program. Now, on the urban areas where there is some sort of connectivity, education, online education continued. But in areas, again, 55, 56% of the country could barely get connected. That's where the education deteriorated or stopped. So that was a big social problem for us. We lost 2 years in a significant amount of our young population when it comes to education. They had to revert back to paper and just home education. Now, how it relates to the workforce, when the pandemic, post-pandemic, when the economies opened up, the young, you saw the graphs, Philippines young population, all of a sudden, all the neighboring countries and the neighboring regions started to get Filipino workers. So it was a double whammy. So then there was a lot of exodus of Filipino workers, not just factory workers. These are professionals who left going to Europe, to North America, and different areas. Also within the ASEAN, our ASEAN neighbors. So now what we need, what we need in the Philippines is really to kickstart what I call is the human resource supply chain. We heard earlier about material supply chain, raw material supply chain, but for us in ASEAN, I think the future and one of the biggest threats moving forward is the human resource supply chain, which we, ASEAN plus Japan, including Japan, should be able to work on. Well, going back to the digitalization, we have ongoing efforts in the Philippines, and we're tapping different countries to assist in our digitalization, connectivity programs, including capacity building. One of the biggest concerns also when during the pandemic, the Philippines is 99.4% MSMEs or micro, small, and medium businesses. So several of the workers migrated to entrepreneurship or having their own business. The good, which is good, but one of the negative points there is cybersecurity. We were not able to capacitate or to train these freshman entrepreneurs on cybersecurity. So that was a problem. So there's a lot of, I'll keep my problems with human resource. So with the human resource aspect, the skilling, upskilling, reskilling, and also using digital platforms in terms of education and also training. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barry-san. It's very interesting that the digital divide is the big issue, and a small, medium-sized entity is also the lack of those kind of education. So that's very interesting. And then the Abe-san is from Bain, and he's representing Singapore, but he has a lot of projects beyond the Singapore and the rest of the ASEAN. Please.
So for Singapore has done, I think, really well in building the talent engine overall. But I think there are probably the key issue fundamentally is how do we also shift the mindset of the people? And there are three things. And number one, how do we get our talent in Singapore to be a lot more outward looking, to be thinking about the playground, not just to Singapore or nearby, but the Asia as a region. And while Singapore has done a great job in attracting talent in and creating a hub for talent here, Singaporeans here, how do we also get them to think about a broader market? That's sort of one. And I think there are generally, I think, of course, there are pockets of people are doing that, but how do we do that on a more larger scale? The second one, I would say on the skilling, on upskilling point or skill standpoint, the technical skills are generally quite well addressed in terms of whether it's through the education system or through generally the upskilling programs for executives, etc. But the behavioral, general management, the more softer skill sets, especially how to sort of think about in a very cross-cultural setup outside of Singapore, I think that is probably some observations I have. And third, I would say is kind of a false sense of security. I mean, one of the benefits of living in Singapore, it's quite perfect, and you live in a world where everything works very perfectly, but elsewhere it does not. And how do you stay paranoid? How do you sort of ensure you are continuous to sort of, it's a survival thing. What has worked for the first 50 years for Singapore, the next 50 years has to be quite different. And while organizations, governments are realizing that, how do we cascade that to the talent? I think those would be a few of my observations. And just one point maybe on Philippines, Indonesia, more the growth markets, you have the benefit of a lot of the younger population. And if I look at, from my experience growing up in India, 20, 30 years back, there was a lot of outflow of talent, the brain drain that kind of went out. And I think India over the last 10 years has probably done a switch over. I had seen when I'd done my MBA, for example, in the US, a lot of people had actually decided to come back to India and do a lot of that. So I think making that environment, and I think that is a big challenge for markets, other markets in ASEAN.
Thank you very much. It's a very interesting that the circulation of the people is also dynamic year by year. And so that's very interesting. And the last is the Hamakawa-san, who is Japanese, but formed her business in Indonesia, Bali. So her perspective is very unique. So please.
Thank you for the introduction. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for letting me speak on this topic. This is something that I feel quite passionate about as well. Just to briefly share my background, I'm from Japan originally, but I've been living in Indonesia for the past 9 years. I run a social enterprise that supports change makers and social entrepreneurs from Asia Pacific region to be able to accelerate their social impact. And at the same time, we work with a lot of corporates. We provide leadership programs to schools and corporates. But there has been a lot of increased interest from the corporate side for the past few years. And yeah, we provide leadership programs and deepening their knowledge about SDGs and social impact and how to incorporate sustainability and regeneration into corporate actions. And so I can speak from the both sides. So just speaking from the ASEAN side first, I've seen, my husband and I started this organization together, but we've been in this sector, in the social sector, for the past 2 decades. And I've seen a lot of social issues with my own eyes, starting with, well, at the moment, actually, in Bali, there are 4 landfills that are burning at the moment. That's because Bali doesn't have a waste processing plant. But there's an increased amount of waste coming into the landfill every year. And that's exacerbated by the fact that we've been having a bad drought because of climate change. So we've had no rains for 120 days now. And so that has really exacerbated the fact that, you know, we have waste piling up, 15 meters tall, 33 hectares wide. So yeah, I've seen issues like that with my own eyes as I came to Singapore. But on top of that, you know, in ASEAN, in all over ASEAN, you know, at the base of the pyramid, the situation is really severe. You know, the human rights violation is another extremely severe problem that we see, as well as poverty, lack of access to education, medical care. Those things are some of the things that we really need to address to be able to uplift the entire ASEAN communities, for us to be able to collaborate with each other and to co-create values going forward. There are so many issues that we need to be solving together before we can start to co-create values. And so that's something that I really do see. And there are a lot of corporates that are interested in finding values in solving problems in ASEAN countries. And I think there's a huge potential to that. This is not just to reduce the risk, but to see economic opportunities in solving problems. But there are a lack of human resources who has the knowledge and experience to be able to do that. Especially, it's not just the knowledge and skills, but the motivation. There are a lot of people that are working for corporates, and executives are very immersed in this knowledge nowadays. I feel I work with a lot of major corporate executives, and they really feel the need to do this. But then a lot of the problems that I hear from them is that that kind of mindset is not a common consensus or the awareness within the companies. So a lot of companies that send us their corporate employees for training programs. The young people are very fast to change the mindset. And I see a lot of impact there. But then when they actually go back to their, corporate daily lives, like whenever they suggest, okay, well, let's do this, to solve this issue, we can come up with this new programs. What happens oftentimes is that with their direct supervisors would say, well, what about the KPIs? What about the profitability? And so I feel like the workplace that welcomes value creation, innovations and creativity, I think that's very necessary. So the education for the employees, yes. For the young people, of course, but at the same time, the change of the mindset of the executives, as well as the upper managers, is also crucial. At the same time, implementing, I think all of us know that we need to value innovation and creativity, but that doesn't oftentimes gets implemented throughout the companies. And so I think we need to actually see it implemented throughout the companies is what I would love to see.
Thank you very much. It's shocking to first hear that the waste at the Bali, which is can impact the tourism reputation and so on. And another one that she mentioned is the not just the younger generation, rather than maybe the middle-aged, the manager is supposed to be a part of the hackathon to change their mind and so on. That's one of the key elements that we may need to think. By the way, maybe we can have some opinions from the floor about what is the social issues we may tackle. Any ideas or anyone? Oh. Okay. Not yet. All right. Okay, let's move on to the next agenda. So we have discussed the social issues, what kind of issues we are going to tackle. Then how should the ASEAN Japan business leaders, work together to support? So we'd like to get the opinions from Tsumi-san again first.
Okay, thank you, Watanabe-san. I think people is very much important. I believe the people are the key to strengthen our relationship between Japan and ASEAN. That's as a base, okay? Strengthen communication from our point, Japan viewpoint, okay? Including Japanese language education, providing timely and updated information on Japan's business status, even as maybe culture or work environment. Such kind of probably updated information sharing comes to another important area. And also in expanding internships, from a company and exchange the all kinds of program that each company having some good program may be. So then how we can share nicely, timely, that's also a very much important one. I think such kinds of activities probably based upon trusted each other. I think such kinds of probably communication, collaboration, we should strengthen to do that. That's one thing. But however, this is not enough, of course, right? I think, again, I say, common challenge, we should find out how we should mitigate, settle down, such kinds of discussion area. We should find out and prioritize such kinds of discussion criteria. So then finding out how we can do process, direction, goals, KPIs. I think that's such kind of goal setting comes also the important one, I guess. And also probably culture is different, right? Each country, each society, that's maybe has a good culture, or maybe some part probably, sharing each other, learning each other, that comes also important. I think probably these kinds of culture, I think we may respect, trust each other. That's another important one, to discuss and collaborate more and more, right? And also diversity, inclusion. I think we should strengthen to understand, to act such kinds of matter more and more, especially in Japan and the ASEAN relationship. It is also important to communicate smoothly in a language such as not Japanese, as English, right? I think some people say in Japan, only Japanese, people prefer to speak about that. But this is probably challenging matter, for Japanese guys at this moment. But I think a common language, for example, in the English, how we can smoothly, communicate each other, how we should clarify who is saying in English, what is that? What this meaning? What is the background, right? Not only for surface communication. I think a more deep dive or analyze, in the English communication, we really need to understand more and more. That's also the important one. And also, I believe in providing attractive growth opportunities for students, especially younger generation guys, by investing in a cutting-edge technology and innovation. This may be related to some DX, this may be related to AI and the other categories for the future. I think these kind of ones, Watanabe-san already mentioned, hackathon is one of some good criteria to communicate, to collaborate, sharing some opinion for the future. and maybe discussing some part. I think that maybe healthy, fighting is coming out. That's okay. After that, maybe we should shake hands how we can do, how Japan, ASEAN can create some right direction for the world. That's including our social program settle down matters. So such kind of some activities, I really want to expect, and we should do together to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Japanese language was one of the critical points that ASEAN's young generation has criticized in coming to Japan. They are very creative and capable, but the Japanese languages limit their chances to work together. So these things, maybe the Japanese, business leaders needs to consider going forward. Thank you very much. Then there's.
Yes. Hello. Yeah. Actually, Mr. Hiroyuki already mentioned everything already.
Well, maybe next time different order.
Yeah, I think probably we are business leader, so we don't want to waste time in just repeating something. But more important as a business leader, how to implement. Because we have just something to add, because between ASEAN and Japan, we have let's say population structure differently. Let's say some ASEAN country, just now Watanabe shows, there are more younger age, while some Japan or Thailand or Singapore, we are more on the aging society. So the only thing that we would like to add, what just mentioned, is that probably we need to have some selection criteria in order to serve the exact population that we are facing, because I think this is quite another thing. And then probably the team 3 is about how to implement. So that is something that is, but as business leader, I think I don't want to repeat anything. It's just already there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very-san.
I'd like to echo what Ambassador Kia mentioned earlier about human resource. It should be human talent. In our company and several companies in the Philippines now, just because of the scarcity of highly skilled people, workers, we call now our human resources assets. Us business people, what do you do with assets? You protect your assets, you improve your assets, the value. So once you look at your human capital, your workers as assets, not as an expense, you'll have a different perspective on treating your employees. Actually, SDG taught me that. So also, one thing good about our ASEAN and Japan, we coexist. Despite all the different types of government or non-government, we coexist. We haven't had any issues in ASEAN that would be major like in other regions. And that's why we have this great opportunity. We have 660 million young, relatively young people. Probably in the next 10 years would be an economic juggernaut here in ASEAN. Most of the innovations come from our region. We certainly manufacture a significant amount of what is sold out there in the other regions. So we have that strength as ASEAN. What we do not have is a harmonized skills framework. We have the population, but we do not have, and I'm talking to the business leaders and probably some government representatives, it's about time that we have a harmonized skills or a talent mobility license or certificate. In the Philippines, we graduate 700 to 750,000 graduates every year. Every year. Our industries can only absorb 450,000. So one of our biggest problems now is underemployment. That's a big problem. It's the wastage of the skill being underemployed. So for me, and other countries who are aging, and that's where we can work together as a human resource supply chain. You know, there was a comment about Japanese language being a barrier. It's only a barrier if you need that worker now. But if you plan, and it's included in some of the training curriculum, that you need this type of worker, whatever industry, it's never a problem. It's like when you are in manufacturing, right? You plan, you have your supply chain. So, and that's how we should, without any malicious intent, we should plan our human resource supply chain for the next 5 years. And as ASEAN, we work together as one. Who needs talent? Who has the talent? Let's work together in a skills framework that a Filipino or different nationality can go and cross border, and which is the talent mobility, which we have to discuss as business leaders. So there's a lot of things we can talk about, but one thing for sure is we have to take care of that 660 million population who's very strong and will be stronger in the next 10 to 15 years economically. Plus, we have the next gold mine, our people. So, and for the next AGPM. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I first heard Perry-san's idea about the standardization of the people's skill set within ASEAN or whoever. It's a kind of the prerequisite to make the supply chain works, like a presentation done by the PSA. You know, the standardization of the products is must, but people, we haven't do that yet. So this is the area that maybe we can think about. Then Avi-san, thank you very much.
Yeah, actually the big question for me is the way our talent development and talent management systems, whether corporates or education system, the way it is now, is it set up well to support all of the objectives, you know, to be innovative, to unlock passion, to drive value, create innovation. And especially in the context of the next generation of people, I think we probably need to do a lot more of a revolutionary change than an incremental change. And, you know, if you think about our talent and for businesses where I consult quite a lot, and when we see that is the intent is there, we want to be able to drive change, but the underlying systems, the talent management, the way we recruit, the way we train, the way we kind of the value proposition we provide to their employees are not in sync. And the approaches that we have had, I think, from organizations that I feel needs to be quite different to be able to unlock that. And, you know, we have seen that with tech talent, for instance, right? You know, flexible work hours, and, you know, in sort of a lot of the research that we have done as Bain, we have seen that, you know, there is no one stereotypical worker. There are probably 6 different archetypes. And the problem is you have to be, and there's no one superior one, right? So you have to have representative. The problem is everyone has very different needs. You know, we have got the innovators, you know, who'd want to go out there and experiment and not have KPIs to sort of pull them down. But there are people who are telling me, like, you know, I'm an operator, I'm going to just follow the traditional way. So we kind of are now trapped in this thing where we cannot have a homogeneous talent management model to be able to drive that, which I think is one of the key themes is coming up in a lot of my client work personally in the region, at least in terms of including Singapore.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Yes. So in the previous meeting, Watanabe-san mentioned to me that he felt that maybe ASEAN countries and Japan, maybe we don't understand each other enough, or maybe we don't know each other enough. And I think, you know, all over the world, we have meetings and, you know, we have conferences and, you know, we talk about our issues and we do that. But I agree with him. I do feel that maybe we don't know each other enough. I think we need to start to have more close partnerships and close relationships and close interactions for us to be able to understand each other. I mean, ASEAN region is a very important area for the Japanese corporates in terms of the market. especially when we're having aging society, decreased amount of young people. But young people that are joining corporates, so they are sent to different parts of ASEAN countries, and they're expected to develop products or services that would fit the demands of these societies, but then they have not been educated to understand diversities in such a countries like Japan, don't have diverse ethnic backgrounds. And so I think it's highly important that we have more interactions with each other so that our corporate employees are ready to collaborate with the ASEAN countries. I think there should be more opportunities to do that. And there are initiatives that are starting to do that. And we received an employee sent from SOMPO, Japan, for 1 year last year. And the reason behind that was for him to learn more about social issues in ASEAN countries and how to solve these issues, to see opportunities in problem solving. And so, and that's what he learned with us for a year. And we as NGOs, we're also always needing more human resource to be able to solve more issues. So that's a win-win situation. We're actually having the same program with Suntory at the moment, and they're actually going to send us 260 fresh new hires next year to us. And I actually run a eco hotel in Ubud, Bali as well, where we manifest all the values that we highly value, such as inclusivity and diversity, sustainability, regeneration, and stuff like that. And so 260 employees will be learning all about that, and we will be sending them to actually witness the climate change impacts and waste problems and stuff like that. And I think it's really great that Suntory is actually spending a lot of money, spending a lot of resource to do this, to invest into their employees. I think it's going to, if they're going to expect these young employees to be able to solve problems in the future and to co-create values in that, then I think this kind of a investment in human resources is highly necessary, is what I think. And just to mention kind of a shocking thing that I saw this morning on the news was that, so I think it was decades ago, NASA did a study, and then they wanted to hire more geniuses. And so they were studying how to create more geniuses, right? And so they define geniuses as people who are able to use their creative minds to solve problems. And so they created this test, and then they used that test for children under 5 years old. The test result was shocking, that 98% of the children passed that test. So 98% of the children were geniuses. They kept doing this test, right? And I'm sure you can imagine that the rate of geniuses dropped significantly over the years. In the end, they did the final test when they became adults. How many percent passed the exam, do you think? Lower, much lower. Close, actually. 3%. And so this is just one test, but it tells us that our education reduces creativity and genius kids and genius minds from 98% to 3% after all that investment in education. So I feel like we should really be reviewing how our education system is run. And this test was done in America, but I think that the issue is even more severe in Japan.
Okay, of course.
And I think I see very similar problems in ASEAN countries as well. So that's something I think we need to be starting this investment in human resource from the education. So I feel like investment in education in early years, as Tsutsumi-san was saying, is also very important.
Thank you very much. Maybe we must redefine the word education based on those. Okay, so now we would like to get some opinion from the floor. Please. Front here, okay.
Okay,
Thank you very much. I think it's I really excited to hear all the comments. For my job, definitely scarce resource in APAC will be, I think, digital talent, which is really severe compared with the US, maybe India. Because one reason is attractiveness to hire the digital people and education. So I think I'd like to hear some opinion about why don't we create something, a common measurement about the digital engineer in the APAC, because of the always, again, that we have to follow some of the rules of the European, the Western way, but the Asian development is slightly different, more, how can I say, more careful and more relatively not agile, but more sure hand. It's kind of we can create something unique. Then, we can define what is the genius and what is creativeness in that field. I'd like to hear about the, digital will be maybe one of the ideas, but we will have something scarce resource. So then I think that we co-work together and build one measurement of this kind of things. So how do you think about that? That's my questions.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And the digital is one thing, or maybe even the lower skills, something like the caregivers. My company, the SOMPO, is the biggest, the elderly care home operator in Japan. It is hard to find the standardized, skill set of those kind of caregiver. Especially, we are now thinking about getting those people from India or Philippines or others. It is really hard. So probably the business can provide those kind of standardization instead of, asking the university or whoever make the standard, rather than the business people can have more knowledge in those kind of areas. So potentially we can think about some standardization together amongst the APAC or ASEAN, Japan, and so on. That's a good idea. Please.
Thank you very much for the presentation. And well, when talking about human resources, I always think about Shohei Ohtani, who is a baseball player.
Okay.
Well, physically, his capability is the same playing the baseball in Japan and playing the baseball in the US. But his commercial value is maybe 100 times more playing in the US market. Because the market of the big league far much larger compared to the Pacific League on Japanese professional baseball. So the point I want to make is it is not just the input, it is the opportunity as a market. So to build up certain skill or standardized skill, of course, people need to struggle and study, but the market where they can utilize that skill is the most important part. And I think there's a lot more that Japanese companies or the Japanese government can open up the labor market to the ASEAN talented young generations. And I especially was very much impressed by the Ferdinand San's comment regarding the human resource supply chain and the saturation of people with talent mobility. I think there's a lot that the corporate Japan and the government Japan can try to be more open-minded instead of just talking about the input.
Thank you very much. The Japan is lacking the essential workers, but a lot of exceed in white-collar workers at this moment. And within Japan, we need to shift it. It's difficult, but seems like I think the ASEAN country may have needs to get the skilled white-collar workers, maybe managers.
Well,
so on.
But let me just add one thing that we are running the private equity business, investment banking, and over our group, maybe 50% of the employees are non-Japanese, and many of them are living in Japan. And they have very strong enthusiasm to grow and improve their capabilities. I think the mobility of the talent should not be just considering of the fulfilling the lack of the young labor, non-skilled labor, but skilled labor, Japan is in short supply as well.
I see. All right. Anyone else? Okay. Oh, Ambassador, please.
Thank you. Just one point. Yes, I fully agree with the market idea that probably big Asia, ASEAN is a big market where both Japanese and ASEAN young people can flourish. And the point I wanted to ask and make is the inner will. I think it's quite maybe easy for all the adults to think about skill sets or standardization of skill sets, what society requires. But I think looking back, the well-being of individuals are so important. And when I think about myself, why am I doing this work? I've got very strong passion. So I think every individual wants to realize their respective passion and will and aspiration. And that cannot be imposed, that needs to be drawn. And when we think about this talent pool or circulation, and I think how to match those inner will of young people to direct them to the latest challenges in the world. I think that portion, I think we are senior people are losing. So we need to focus on that inner aspirations for the welfare and well-being of people, and that will be the source of all the added value for the future.
Thank you very much. Maybe the word we are using, circulation, is not good enough. Maybe.
Can I make a comment?
Please.
In our company, we have several young. Our average worker is around 23 years old. And the new generation of workers, I am in electronics and semiconductor. They do not last 2 years. They move. The young people want to move. And we made it a point in our company to accept that fact and to constantly train. We cannot stop workers from seeking new opportunities or a better quality of life. So we embed our training process, and we have that certain percentage of training in our budget, you can call it, of just constantly training freshmen, graduates, and letting our workers who want to move, and we help them find new opportunities. In the Philippines, at least in our company, we have a lot of minimum wage earners, factory workers in the electronics. My family feels guilty paying them minimum wage because it's very difficult to survive in minimum wage, maybe here in other countries. So we made it a point to find partners in other countries so we can send our talented, skilled workers to those countries and make higher wages, or not local wage. It's part of our sustainability to improve the quality of life. So we have that program. We turn a few thousand every quarter, just giving it to our partners. And then we train a new batch. It's part of that sustainability. You cannot stop young people now from moving. I think I'm probably one of the last older that I will be there until the last day, you know. So that's a change of mindset. Us as business leaders, we have to accept the fact that they will not stay. And we have to adjust that flexibility within that organization and to find a better home for our workers who have served us and made us profit. Find them better home outside. And that's part of our ASEAN and which we could do within our 10+1 Japan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please.
That's another trend for old people in Thailand, also in Japan. That's a trend that they have a old, what they call retirement home. That we need a lot of caretakers. That will be a lot of Japanese moving to Thailand. I believe in Malaysia they start having this also. In Thailand they have more and more. And this is not only in Bangkok, maybe move out to countryside. So more income for the countryside, I think, and also the saving money for those elderly people in Japan. You come to Thailand or Malaysia or some other countries, you can cost of living lower, and also they have good people to take care of. So that's another trend.
Thank you very much. Please, Yao-san.
Thank you very much. I'd like to go into the detail of the circulation, as Ambassador said, and we have to clarify the meanings or definition of the circulation of brain or skilled talents. How to circulate those kinds of people, not only physical movement, but also the virtual movement as well. That is why we have to think about the system. My question is maybe closely related to the number 3, but we have to deepen this kind of questions, especially circulations is very important for the future.
Thank you very much. Like a digital, the human resource can be virtually, shared amongst the globe. That's already happens, But
I think so.
Please.
Yeah. So I think the people asking many questions because I believe that this is very key agenda for our future growth in ASEAN and Japan. So and then Kitagawa-san also mentioned about let's clarify data about the capability of digital systems, right? But also I have one suggestion as well that now that we are getting a lot of AI, generative AI, so the way we work, well, the capability that we need is actually drastically changing. So this is also and I hear that before that speaking Japanese is one of the obstacles to exchange, but these days so easy to translate. Right. So now I think language not come one of the obstacles if you compare with before. So and then I even think that this definition of white collar, blue collar is also it's no more anymore. Right? So that's why maybe this very key initiative, how to train the people, how to making the value chain for the people, please consider the way we work also drastically change. What kind of capability will we survive? Or will be that we as in a human, we're focusing on such so on. Maybe that's perspective also very, that I believe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe the AI will automate many of those issues going forward and so on. Okay. All right. Shall we move on to the next question, or is that okay? Yeah. Okay. So going back to our original proposal, the younger generations hackathon, and maybe we'll do that next year, and then try to expand that into more social issue discussion point amongst not just the younger generation, but maybe including ourselves, like our business leaders and so on, to find a solution together is the next topic. So, the question is, we'd like to get the feedback to our blueprint idea, and how can we make this more efficient and more impactful for talent development and its circulation among ASEAN and Japan. Maybe this time we'll switch the order from the other end.
Sure. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Sure. Regarding the feedback, this is so I'm doing what I do. So I see a lot of issues, and also I work with change makers who are providing solutions. So what I see is a huge gap in these solutions and where the money is. And I know for a fact that we work with a lot of impact investors, and there are a lot of investors that are interested in investing into solutions. And there are a lot of platforms that we're connected to, but I still see a huge division and huge gap where a lot of change makers are not able to reach those opportunities to get to know the investors, and investors are also not able to meet the right solutions. And so if this were to happen, I would love to see a matchmaking platform where a lot of the solutions are not just coming from advanced countries where technology and education is advanced, but a lot of them are coming out of ASEAN regions. So I would love to see a platform where solutions can be uploaded to be matched with potential opportunities and in terms of collaborations with the corporates. That's something that would love to see. But at the same time, I would love to stress the fact that businesses will be able to solve a lot of problems. But there are a lot of problems that cannot be solved just by businesses. I mean, there are a lot of people that are suffering from diseases because of lack of medical care, or a lot of people who are hungry, have nothing to eat today or tomorrow. There are a lot of people who are suffering from having to relocate to another land because of climate change and sea level rise. Those people, when those people are right in front of you, if those people are right in front of you, I think you will want to help. But then those people are not right in front of you, so we think that's just something that happens in another parts of ASEAN countries. But those things are happening, and there are companies are very difficult to reach out to these people to be able to solve those problems. But there are NGOs that are working on the ground all day, every day to solve those problems. But what I see is that these NGOs and change makers have to beg for money to be able to solve the problems that were created by the society to begin with. And I really would like to see that. I think this is part of the flawed capitalism, right? I mean, when we're talking about collaborative capitalism that経済同友会really wants to promote, I feel that these BOP people, base of the pyramid people, needs to be uplifted, and they need to be part of this new collaborative capitalism. And I see that, I really hope that the economic world, the corporate world, will see the need to solve their problems, to address those issues on the ground through the NGOs, NGO work as well, not just through the economic activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the funding or matchmaking is more important, not just doing the hackathon itself. Maybe.
Yeah, so overall, I mean, I really like the concept and the platform. It's very comprehensive. I think it's about probably how to get started, and maybe the need for some focus themes, like of the problems that this platform can solve for. Like, so within maybe digitization or sustainability, are there some of these specific themes within that could be a target focus? I think the second point, I would say, also thinking of this as a bit of a life cycle view. So while we talk about youth, I think the early education versus tertiary versus young professionals versus how do you create that sort of a bit of that view across the life cycle? And third one, I think the engagement platform, and of course with digital, how do we also create some of these things like matchmaking, etc., would be quite helpful, I think.
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just want to piggyback on what was said on education. So that is key. We should have really look into the education, and the world is changing faster. The skills requirement is changing faster. In the next 3 years, we will completely change the job requirements. So I just have two comments. First is businesses are now social entities. that are responsible to their employees. We as business leaders, business owners, we are responsible to the improvement of the lives of our employees. Also, the environment. And what I wanted to add there is also to ASEAN, the community. So I used to look now at my company, Just Philippines, and it will give me, on my flight back, probably give me a different perspective that I have 10 additional partner countries, 9 ASEAN plus Japan. So we should really, as business leaders, take a look at that. And my last point is, as business leaders, we should be the one driving the change. Let's not wait for our governments. Some governments change every 4 years or every 6 years, but we are always here. We are survivors. We survived the pandemic and other challenges in the past. Human resource is going to be a big one challenge for us because they move faster and they transition faster. So I would suggest an ASEAN formed by business leaders, and we tell ASEAN leaders, the government, this is what we want. This is what we want to try, at least on the human resource aspect, because we do have the gold mine, which is the people. And if we put our minds together, I believe we can come up with a plan in order to have a sustainable human resource development plan. And just one quick, we can look at the new platform. It says ASEAN Japan Youth. Let's not forget the middle-aged workers also. There's a few of them.
Yes.
Quite a bit of them. I'm past that, but those are very quick, low-hanging fruits to reskill and upskill. So youth is our future, definitely. There's that bandwidth of middle age like us with another 20 years more to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Jiraphant.
Yeah, actually, this new platform is very nice picture.
Good.
But what I think is my opinion is that, as probably just now we mentioned also a lot of problem that we are facing. We know that transferring a human resource and then blah, 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 blah. But actually, I think for this kind of things that to be able to be really into the realistic, which we are best as a business leader, we know that everything have to implementable and it have to be implemented in order to get the bottom line back to us. But this one probably we need an ownership. I think we cannot just put it in the air, but we need some ownership that really set up in order to really run like we are running our companies. We have a nice goal, but how to implement it and how to get the bottom line as a business leader. This is what I think is more important, is that probably we need to set up an entity to be the ownership to handle this in order to be able to implement it.
Thank you very much. The structure of this is very important. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I also like to deploy these kinds of new platform. That's a mandatory. We must do that. Backside of this new platform, actually, I like to share 3 probably keywords to everybody. That's number 1. That's a SX. SX meaning sustainability transformation. I think a DX important, but DX is one of SX, I guess, right? Circulation, of course, very much related to SX. Well-being, same. And also social issue, that's also related to this SX, right? So then I think Japan, ASEAN should create one standard model for SX based upon this scheme, not only for our region, to world. We should create one voice. We should share our whole kinds of direction from now on to worldwide peoples. We can do that. So then SX is one of the keywords, I guess. That's number 1. Number 2, building trust as I mentioned before. So by the way, building trust, this is the one of next worldwide economic forum, Davos, or meetings. That's one of the theme, I guess. Building trust. There are so many things that's happening worldwide, right? I think in one of the area, probably unexpected matters that's happened. But I think lots of unknown matter is coming out from now on to the future. How we can face it, how we can act based upon such kind of some whole kind of challenges. I think building trust, people, country, no silotic approach. ASEAN has several countries. Japan also several regions. We are not having about that. Japan, ASEAN, not a silotic approach. That's no more. That's one team build, one approach, one voice. That's a very much important thing, I guess. Building trust. That's why this is what comes to key one. And the third one, SF thinking. Future. We may consider about the future, right? From this time, very much important. This scheme, very much important. But the future, how we can do? It depends on people, future people. It depends on future condition, right? I think based upon that, we like to create some more flexibility. That's also the important one, not the concrete ones at this time. Future flexibility, that's very much welcome. So then I think while it is important to pursue common challenges, right? As I mentioned, common challenges we are having about that. It is also important to consider ambiguity and the balance and to keep some options open for future. That's very much important one. Let's think about, let's think together, think about that. Sorry about that. We need from, we need now from future using, SF thinking, right? The point is, can we be good ancestors? Isn't it important to seriously consider this topic when considering the future relationship between Japan and ASEAN? I think we should think about future people's viewpoint. What we are missing at this time? Why? What we should do at this time? We should clarify these kinds of items at this time. That's our homework and that's our missions. I really think about that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. SF thinking is a new word. Okay, any opinions from the floor? Oh, Ambassador first. You're so passionate. Passionate about it.
I was greatly inspired by all the message and comment interventions, I think including SF thinking. As we do daily business, we may be losing SF thinking. And I also note a very strong message from Hamakawa-san about Hamakawa-san about the huge gap of value between money and power on the one hand and change makers on the other. I was in Africa, South Sudan. I was in charge of Africa and South Sudan conflict. Those challenges were there. And throughout my lifetime, that was my mission, how to bridge the gap between power and the challenges. I'm not losing that yet. I think probably what this new platform can do is to identify and uphold the challenges that we are aiming at, so that those of us who are all having power and we are having nice life here, and those what we can do through business is quite limited. As Hamakawa-san said, so many things need support and NGOs. So I think that's one. So I think this platform, once it's sustainable, can always uphold challenges that we need to address without limited by our constraint of business. I have two more points. The second thing is that the core is probably trainee or beneficiaries. Their selection is key. And I think that they can bear the responsibility and send out the messages and inspire all the senior people. And they are the sort of reverse mentors that we will all be inspired. And I hope that the dialogue with those young people should be the new opportunity for all the companies and government to learn from, to be inspired. I think this can be a nucleus, a change maker of the society institutions. What Japan gets from ASEAN collaboration with ASEAN is being inspired by ASEAN, inspired by the work with ASEAN. They've got energy. We are losing directions. I think that now Japan will be helped by ASEAN under the next 20 years, 5 years. The third one is this new initiative can be a nucleus of best practices, showcasing and linking best practices. Also inspired by the Suntree example, more than 200 people are trained. I think such cases should be showcased and to be scaled up by other companies, inspire other companies. And so many initiatives are taking place, and I think they are compartmentalized, they are sort of silos. So I hope that this AJBM's initiative can link all those aspire, and I think this can have the mission to inspire all the others. So I hope that this initiative can work that way as becoming sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other thoughts or opinions? Silence?
Sorry, can I answer?
Please.
Thank you so much, Kia-san, for such a heartfelt statement. I can't agree with you more. And I feel like a lot of the conversations about productivity or HR issues, SDGs and ESG and problem solving and all those things, I feel like those things are talked about in a very fragmented way. There are different conferences focusing on each of them, but I feel like this is very connected. I read last week that UK studies show that 53% of Gen Z workers, employees, are willing to quit their work for their employers' lack of climate actions. So that's how progressively minded these new people are. And this is a case of UK, and I feel like the consciousness is a little bit lower in ASEAN and Japan market, but there are increasing number of young people who are highly motivated and who want to see their values worth, who want to see themselves being effective and useful for the world. And I feel like there needs to be a match between the individual growth and company growth, individual interest and company interest. And I feel like there are ways to make this happen. And, and we constantly are losing staff, especially in ASEAN countries. In my hotel too, staff are quitting every 2 years. It seems to be a pattern, but we would love to see more loyalty, right? We would love to see longer lasting, because we invest a lot of resource into training these employees. And if they can love working with us, then that's so much better. If they can actually make their well-being happen while working, not despite of working, right? Right now in the world, what we're seeing is that they need to make well-being happen outside of work because they don't get it at work. Or even worse, working for corporates decreases well-being. And that's what's happening in a lot of places in the world. But I feel like we can reverse that. And I feel like we really need to reverse that to comprehensively make these things happen all together, the HR issues and the inclusivity and diversity and HR issues, productivity, expand into ASEAN market. I feel like these are all very interconnected. And I would love to see the ASEAN and Japan collaboration to make this comprehensive problem solving happen.
Thank you very much. All right.
I think how we can involve startups would be another point we can address. I'm sure there are many passionate entrepreneurs in each country, and they understand what issues they're having in their market. But they don't have enough cash or resources or way to, expand their business into Japan or other countries. So, of course, it's important to educate younger generations and also corporate executive people. But at the same time, it's another way for Japanese corporations or big companies to, access to young talent in other countries. So I think involving startups in this circle would be another important point.
Thank you very much. That's also written here, but yeah, it's not emphasized here yet. But at the same time, the Perry-san told that 95% of the corporation is SMEs, so that not just a startup, but some SMEs need to have some innovations and so on. So that's thank you very much. Please.
Thank you very much. Very, very interesting panel. And then exchange opinions between Ambassador Kia and Hamakawa-san really inspired us. And, as a business leader, we have always a temptation to have a signature program like this. But maybe, we might create a platform. As Hamakawa-san said, we have so many fragmented programs, etc., etc. So if we can provide, as this team, a platform where people can find out the most suitable program or matching mechanism, then it might be a quite creative approach, not just provide another signature program as an independent initiative. So this is just a sort of an idea. But you really, Hamakawa-san, inspired us to think in a different way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we should become some platform, not just a one-time hackathon independently. That's more than agreeable to the thing, and that's what we'd like to be as a future stage of our initiative and so on. Okay, its time has passed. So we conclude. I mean, the one thing I'd like to ask for your cooperation is that we'd like to make this happen. Instead of just having some discussion and go on, rather than next year, we'd like to make this happen somewhere in ASEAN with Japan. And there are many things that we need to define, like someone that says, who is the trainee? And who is a trainer is another area of things that we didn't define yet. So going forward, we need to define a lot of things with your cooperation. But the thing we must do is not just thinking, but do something as a starting point as the next year. So that's what we'd like to do. And if you agree, can you clap your hands? Great. Okay, the meeting has over. Thank you very much.